Yes. So great to see you again on Sunday, though I'm not able to see any of you guys. I assume that you're able to hear and see me. Assuming that I'm starting. Thank you, Mangesh. So, please, everybody, I hope, in case if you realize that the way I'm teaching is not getting communicated to you people, please, give me some feedback so I can come back and discuss, or I can think about different ways of teaching, etc. I somehow am not very good at exploring information technology tools, so I don't think I'm spending a lot of time on those. I don't have. I'm not using any of those tools to teach you people. So otherwise, probably I could have used that. Except this Microsoft Team, I'm not really going to use a lot of technology in the process of teaching. All right. So let us start today's session. In the last session, if you remember, I was discussing on certain aspects of uh, research and ethics, and we looked at about 10. Hello. Yeah. So, about 10 different aspects that we need to keep in mind when we talk about researching, because it's important that when we do a research, the research should serve a positive function in the society. If the research is not contributing anything in the process, or if the research is going to create a negative impact to the society and people, then there is a problem with our research. Sometimes our research can also lead to certain policy decisions that may adversely impact sections of the society. I was talking about the patenting of a particular group of tribal communities as part of the research. So a lot of these things do happen. Therefore, it's important that we keep certain standards and values. And we said there are three broad principles that we learned when we talk about doing research, the ethics of doing research. We said there are one way of looking at it is that utilitarian perspective. So we do a lot of activities, and information technology research to a great extent, a lot of people say that it is more from a utilitarian perspective that we do. We do a lot of research. Oftentimes we don't know why we are doing research, assuming that some positive things will come up and the impact of that research is going to benefit the society. So people talk about the whole research on AI and how, and then there is this AI ethics people talk about. And one of the things people talk about, that say, for example, AI is going to displace people. A lot of research is being done, a lot of activities, experiments being done, how you can optimize, how you can automate a certain activity, otherwise that was being conducted by people, etc. Now, the question a lot of people say is that all those research are actually kind of creating negative consequences to the society, human society as a large, at large. So there is always the argument that, don't worry, this is a phase of it, this is not going to replace jobs, this is going to, find some other opportunities. There will be different types of job will be created, and we have a number of justification for that. So we need to justify, and that is where utilitarian perspectives coming into picture, because we are always looking at the cost and benefit and try to prove that the benefit is more than the cost. So every researcher is trying to prove that the benefit of my research is more than the cost of my research. So to a great extent, information technology, when we talk about the ethics, is derived from a utilitarian perspective. One way of looking at it. Secondly, I said there are certain things that we cannot do it, we should not do it. There is a definite no or yes to doing research. And that is where we talked about deontological principles. So the moral philosophy, when we talk about certain things you can, certain things you cannot, you should not be doing. So that is what people talk about deontology or categorical imperative. Categorically, we can say that this cannot be done, this has to be done. There is only black and white. There is no gray area in the research. So that is what the categorical imperative people would say. And then the third group that we discussed was the virtue ethics. Virtue ethics basically says that the person who is conducting the research should be virtuous. So if you are a virtuous person, the argument is that you cannot never do anything wrong. You can never harm anybody. You can never steal from anything and from anybody, etc., etc. So creating the person as a virtuous person, that is very important. So being a virtuous person, understanding the consequence of the action, or categorically we say yes or no to certain things. That's how we generally understand the ethics. And we also discussed a fourth theory, which says that any research, any activity, if it is bringing benefit to the least of the society, then go ahead and do it. If your research is going to benefit the poorest of the poor in the society, by any means do it. So that's what John Rawls would talk about. So distributive justice, because that kind of an activity will enable or will ensure there is a distribution of the wealth that is happening. So that's what we have discussed so far. And we discussed in the last session, we looked at some of the major principles, values that Helsinki Declaration talks about. Today, and we also looked at the concept of what the American Research Association, what they term as research and ethics, research ethics. And they identified three major areas in which a researcher can, get into problematic areas. That is, one is plagiarism, the other one is falsification, third one they call fabrication. So these are the three major areas in which social science research has to think about it. So when we talk about social science, to a great extent, everything that is not medical research to do falls into social science, especially when we come to management, when we come to various other applied sciences. We talk about these three areas that we need to look into. Technology, when we talk about IT technology, IT is more of an applied technology. It is again not a pure science programs. So information technology again has to look into the same what the American School of Thought is talking about: plagiarism, falsification, fabrication. These are the three major areas in which issues of ethics and values coming into. So far, so good. Okay. And in the last lecture, we looked at what is plagiarism: presenting someone else's work or ideas as your own without with or without their consent, by incorporating it into your work without full acknowledgement. That is what is plagiarism. So we said there are certain academic practices, academic pressure forces people to get into such behavior, because research is not easy. It takes a lot of time. And then to write a very good paper, it takes even more time. And a lot of us in the academic field are not from the native English speaking community. Therefore, language becomes an issue. So instead of writing, it becomes easy for copy and pasting somebody else's research, because we are also doing research in that. And at the end of the day, what we need is a degree. So when we are only looking at the degree part, so we tend to cut corners. And when today be having a PhD becomes the basic criteria getting into a teaching job. And I'm sure almost all of us here are planning to get into a teaching job. Even those who are working in the industry who are doing this, probably you would want to move into an academic at some point of time, and that is where the pressure comes into picture. And we said there are different types of plagiarism people talk about: verbatim copy from paper, somebody else's paper, word for word, quotations without clear acknowledgement. So what this is that when you're quoting somebody's research in your paper, what is expected is that you put them into an inverted comma, or you can put that in italics. And third is you have to you can indent it. Indent it means shrink that particular portion of the quotation from both the sides. Let's say 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters on both the sides. You shrink the for example, when we talk about indenting, this is an indent that has happened. So the rest of the thing are aligned to one line, and then you have got a different line where you're starting your particular research. So this process is what we call indenting. So this you have indented. And sometimes what happens when you are aligned on both the sides, you need to indent on both the sides, that particular section. So that is how that is what people saying that we should do when we are copy and pasting. And a fourth aspect is that cite it. Without citing and giving credence to that particular person, it becomes, even if you do all those things, still if you don't say where you have taken that particular passage from, then it is still plagiarism. So this is how people look at plagiarism, how and why plagiarism is. So when you are taking verbatim passage from somebody else's article and quoting it into your paper, acknowledge it. Then cutting and pasting others' work without identification, acknowledgement. These are all various types of plagiarism that we discussed. And we said plagiarism check tools are available. A lot of tools available today. Authenticate, Turnitin, PubPeer, etc. are some of the common. And from Symbiosis perspective, Turnitin is the tool that you can use for checking plagiarism of what you are writing. Now, how to get Turnitin? You can approach your guide. Your PhD guide has an access to Turnitin through their institution and library, or you can directly approach the central library of Symbiosis and ask the librarian for a Turnitin report for your paper. So either of these can be done, and generally people entertain. Okay, good. So another type of misconduct, research misconduct that people talk are very important in falsification. Falsification is manipulating research materials, equipment, or processes, or changing or omitting data or results such that the research is not accurately represented in the research record. So falsification is another very important factor that we need to look into in terms of research integrity. So there are a lot of people falsify the data. Now falsification of the data happens. So I have collected a set of data. Now that data is not proving the hypothesis that I had in mind. So I manipulate the data. So there are some people, what they do is that they collect some 100 responses from the public, from their sample, and they realize that 100 is not enough to get a good paper, a good research publication. So what they do is that they falsify the data. So they add more data into it. There are algorithms that helps you to multiply 100 sample to let's say a 500 sample. There are algorithms that helps you to do that. So people use the algorithms and code, etc., and then multiply the 100 data points into 500 data points, and then you analyze, and then you come out with a report. So ordinary researchers will not be able to detect the problem. There are people who can detect the problem with such kind of data. So it becomes difficult. So falsification is something that a lot of researchers do in order to fit the data that I have to my hypothesis, to my research, etc., or to prove a particular point as right. A lot of marketing research, a lot of people, what they do is that they collect data. I'm sure you have heard about it, you have seen it. They collect data from 10 people, and all those 10 probably are employees of the organization. So marketing company wants to tell the world 100% of the people who have used this product feels the product is good. 100%. Now this 100% could be out of 10 respondents. You getting what I'm saying? So this is how a lot of marketing companies try to fool the customers or dupe the customers. So there is a value system added to it. Now, when you're talking about what value system, what ethics, so you are actually having a very small, very minuscule of sample that does not represent uh, any category of population, and still you come to say that 100% people or 99% of the people who have used this product feels that it is excellent. So falsification. So these are all, how data, using data, you are trying to manipulate the outcome to favor a particular kind of research. I hope you have come across such kind of research papers, people who do this kind of article. Half a page attached to the front page. Now, if you open that, the inside of it, every day they give statistics. Now, 99% of the statistics are based on a certain types of population. The population is generally a very biased kind of population. I mean, the sample, and then uh, the result says or proves what the editor of the newspaper wants to prove. That's how a lot of work done, and that is where the falsification happens. So here are some examples. Removing an outlier from a series of measurements. I hope you understand. I don't have to explain what is an outlier, etc. So changing a measurement to make it look higher or lower, or adjusting the brightness of one particular gel band in a picture, but not the other bands in the same photo. Adding error bars to single measurements to suggest multiple measurements were performed, etc. Or this is Western blot is something that is used in psychology and things like that. I think reusing the same Western blot either in the same orientation or mirrored or rotated to represent different experiments that were conducted by the researcher. Showing two overlapping microscopy image to represent two different experiments. Generally, they do it in the medical science, etc. Presenting data as if derived from cell line A while it was obtained from cell line B. Again, a lot of science-based research, they do this. Duplicating some cells on a photo to make it look like treatment resulted in a higher cell density, etc. So falsification is not just done in medical sciences, it is done in computer science. So computer forensic is one area where a lot of people would be working on. I'm sure at least a few people are going to work on. And then you are going to image forgery and all those things when you talk about. When you talk about the image manipulation, a lot of manipulation happens on the image, and then at the end you may completely use a different image to make the predictions outcome and then show a different set of image when you present it to the public. So these are various types of falsification. Even when you do a management research, as I said, you collect 100 samples and then you multiply it to making it 500 samples. So a lot of people do this kind of activity, which is considered an unethical uh, research. So a lot of people have done kind of uh, things. Say one is Andrew Wakefield's Lancet paper on MMR vaccine and autism. So because there was a financial benefit, because there was a research funder, the researchers manipulated the data. At the end of the day, they got the funding, etc. And later on, they realized that the funders realized that the researchers falsified the data, and then there was an inquiry. The person lost his job, and then the university had to refund the entire money that they received from the funding agency, etc., etc. So these are all examples of falsification. So that is when you talk about falsification as a factor, and as a researcher, try not to get into is the invention of data or information. So we said falsification is you are manipulating already collected data, or already the data is with you. You're analyzing that to to suit the data to your hypothesis. You manipulate the data. That is falsification. Fabrication of the data is that there is no data, but then you are creating data. So this happens a lot in the information technology. The data sets you have to buy. It's expensive. Sometimes data sets are not available. Nobody is willing to share the data sets. So how are you going to conduct the research? A lot of people who are doing medical research, for example, they need medical data. Hospital has to provide the data, and no hospital is willing to share the data because there is a non-disclosure agreement with the patients. So the patient's data, you cannot share it with the researcher. So how do a researcher conduct data? So you fabricate data. So fabricating data involves creating a new record of data or results. Most commonly fabricated documents are the informed consent forms and patient diaries. Now, a lot of researchers, especially in medical sciences, in social sciences, we are expected to take an informed consent from the participants. Say, for example, I am conducting a survey, and every survey question or the survey paper, the person who is responding to has to agree that, I voluntarily give this data, and there was no force, etc., used in collecting the data from me. So I have to give a consent. Now, oftentimes, a lot of researchers don't do it. And then the journal asks you to submit the consent form. And then you realize, oh my God, I don't have a consent form. What am I going to do? A lot of people manufacture the consent form. It happens. According to a study from 2004, fabrication is the second most common form of scientific misconduct, comprising 22% of the studied cases, plus 27% of the cases labeled fabrication. So this is an example of a fabrication of a data. So making up data as results and recording or reporting them without saying it is fabricated data. So this was two images. The original image was the one at the bottom, and the researchers submitted the image on the top to the journal. Now, journal published it. Now, if you look at, there is a huge difference between the image on data, on the first set and the second set. When the second set is the real data, the researchers submitted, they conducted all the test, everything on the second sets of data, and then they submitted the first set to the journal, and there was issue. So somebody identified it, and there was a question on it, because sometimes these are all data research. They say that if you did, you got ABCD result. If XYZ person also conduct the same research in a different context, you should get the same answer. So people conducted tested the photo, and then they did not get the same result that they represented in the research, and that led to an inquiry, and finally they accepted. Almost they accepted that almost all the experiments of this manuscript were conducted by the first author in 2009, but he moved to another hospital just before first submission. After we received the revised letter, we decided to redo the experiments with him. However, mainly because of the limitation of time, we did not get good results. Thus, the data was taken from a capture of different sample. So we are sorry for making a fraudulent figure. So this is how they responded when there was the editor of the journal identified that there was a problem. They write, when they realize that there is a problem, they write to the author for clarification. And the expectation is that the author has to respond to. And if author does not respond to the mail sent by the editor of the journal, then the editor of the journal would write to your registrar of your university or to the vice chancellor of the university, and then vice chancellor or the registrar is supposed to ensure some response is happening. And if nothing, even the registrar and university vice chancellor does not respond to the editor's request, then the editor, they have their own network. They will blacklist the university. So any research paper that goes from university will not be considered for publication by those journals. So there is a lot of problems. So it is expected that there is an inquiry conducted inside the university and appropriate action taken. Appropriate action can be withholding the promotion of a faculty, withholding the increments that he or she should be getting, or suspension, or dismissal. So all these are expected outcome of a research misconduct. If it is proved, if it is caught and proved, you can face all these kind of penalties by the university. The journal does not penalize you, they blacklist you. Which means next time when you send your journal article to any of these journals, let's say there is a Springer Nature journal. Now, there are hundreds of journals that is associated with Springer Nature. Now, if Springer Nature, one article, you send it to one journal, and that journal realize that you have either fabricated, falsified, or plagiarized, and then you did not respond, your university does not respond, and first thing they do is that they blacklist you. And when one journal blacklists, the message gets along, and the nature community will blacklist you. The entire Elsevier will blacklist you. If it is a Sage, the entire Sage will blacklist you. So that is the extension, because editors are networked and they flag to their community. And there is today something called COPE. There is a Committee of Publication Ethics. There is an entire organization that is looking into publication ethics. It is called COPE, COPE. And they immediately inform COPE such kind of an activity that has happened. Somebody has fabricated the data and submitted a paper, and there is no response. So please take appropriate action. The appropriate action generally is blacklisting the author. So you just realize that each time when you're sending a paper, it is getting desk rejected. They will not tell you they have blacklisted you. They will just reject your papers. The moment they see the name and affiliation, your name is ABCD and then you're from Symbiosis International Deemed University, automatically your paper gets rejected. This is what happens. So I was just looking at and I saw this very nice cartoon. The test data doesn't support plan. You must have seen a lot of these Dilbert cartoons, isn't it? Dilbert and Dogbert. We know our plan is brilliant, so just adjust the data to support it. You mean falsify the data? Let's not get hung up on the definition of things. So a lot of people don't think it is problematic. They just do it. Because what you need is a research paper. As I told you, research paper is important for completing your PhD. And for you, priority is completing your PhD and not contributing to the scientific research. And then that's a problem. So when we look at, because of these three major factors, falsification, plagiarism, and fabrication of data, a lot of research papers have been retracted. Now, the maximum retractions is happening in the engineering section, in which you also belong to, if you look at. So, 2020 to 2022 period, if you look at, you can see the number of, the spike in the number of research papers that are retracted vis-a-vis the other disciplines. Say, the other disciplines like business, number of retractions are not that many. Environment studies, not that many. Humanities, so all these 3-4 science, social sciences, again, not too many. But the moment it comes to pure sciences, medicine, engineering, it's a huge number. The number of papers retracted are too high. So the pressure for publication is also very high in these areas, and the need for recognition in these, especially medicine, science, engineering, are also very high. And if you compare the previous years and the current years, so say 2017-19 period and 2020-22 period, if you look at, it's a huge difference, and this difference is increasing year by year. And the number of papers that are getting retracted are going skyrocketing in the last few decades, if you look at. So somebody did a research to understand why people are continuing to do this kind of malpractices, and they made these conclusions. These were the conclusions came out of a research conducted by a few people to understand why. Research was conducted by India Research Watchdog. Okay, so that's the organization that conducted a research to understand why people are not changing. And if you look at the main reason, university ranking parameters. So now if you look at, every university needs a good rating. And in India, within India, if you want to get a UGC support funding, etc., you need to get into the top 50 universities. Now, how to get into the top 50 universities? So UGC has got a NAC, National Accreditation, University Accreditation process. Now, this accreditation process, if you come in the top 50 of the ranking, then there is a high possibility that you will get funding from various government agencies. Now, to come into that, you've got hundreds and thousands of universities across India. So there's a huge, not universities, 100,000, colleges and universities put together, quite a large number of organization working in India. So university and in order to get into that ranking, one of the major contribution, NAC, if you look at 200% of the contribution is coming from 200 points out of 500, 200 points is coming from research alone. So very kind of very strong factor, parameter. For university ranking, the role of research papers and research papers in Scopus index journals. So at that one point of time, there was no Scopus indexed mandate. So they were just publishing to increase the number of research papers from the university. So there was, I remember one university in one particular issue of one journal, they had about 800 articles. Of these 800 articles published in that one issue of one journal, about 400 articles were from one university, and that university was located in somewhere in Coimbatore. A Coimbatore-based university had published 400 articles. So every faculty had 4-5 articles published in that particular issue of that journal. So this was what was happening, and then they realized that there's a lot of misconduct happening. A lot of papers started getting retracted, not rejected. Of course, rejection is also there, but when journals published without a due processes, there is no rejection happen. Once the paper is published, then the retraction happens. So people talk about 2023 onwards, there's a huge number of papers getting retracted. So now you look at the conference papers and journal papers. Conference papers retraction level is not that great, that high, but journal papers. So 2023 had more than 10,000 journal papers getting rejected. And which are the countries that are most dangerous? China is in the red zone. They are the country that has got, in terms of percentage, maximum happening. Then we have US, India in the orange. So second largest number of retractions happening. Second and third, US and India. And the African continent, Latin American continent are considered more ethical when it comes to following certain research publications. Probably the what they call that publish and perish concept has still not got into these universities. The requirement for competing in international market is not as much in these two continents. Hence, probably they are not getting into that rat race of publication. So falsification, fabrication is minimized in those. However, in China, in India, in US, etc., the pressure for publication is greater, and therefore the number of cases are also greater in these places. Then, of course, Russia, Canada, many European countries, including England and so on, are also brought into this ambit. Now, this was a kind of diagram on which country fraudulent data, fraud or suspected fraud by the researchers, US, Germany, Japan, China, UK, India. So India's is orange. Now if you look at the number, the pie is small. Now don't worry, don't go by the size of the pie, because the number of journals, if it is 1 lakh that is published in a year in USA and China, we in India, we publish about 10,000 articles. So the even within the 10,000, you see the size. So proportionately, if you look at India, is probably at par with US or even above US in terms of suspected fraud. Then we talk about plagiarism.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Sir, I can't see your PPT. Can you reshare, please?
you are not able to. Is it same for others also?
So
Yes,
it is
sir.
visible. So
Hello,
It is visible, sir.
it's visible.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, it
it
is
is.
visible to us.
Who was asking? Is it visible now to you?
No, sir. I just see what is the data fabrication slide only.
You are not getting these pie charts.
No, sir.
Not moving at all.
Sir, another person is there. They also said they they didn't see the PPT also.
You are not seeing the PPT at all so far.
Yeah, sir.
Is it a problem? There are others who are able to see it. It should be a
So no,
problem with you, no?
No, sir. Everyone saying in chat box they are not visible.
for for me it is visible.
So what I have done is I have shared my entire screen. So let me come back again. I hope it works. Not showing, not showing.
Sir, it was visible. Maybe basically their
It
internet
was
connectivity
visible.
should be slow from there.
Huh.
Right now, sir, we are
So
visible.
I have reshared again. Have you are you able to see
Yes,
now?
yes,
Yes, it is
sir.
visible, sir, now. Yes.
Okay. So plagiarism, if you look at it, India is not very bad, isn't it? Very far behind. As I told you, the number of papers that is getting published vis-a-vis the number of paper that is getting rejected. So plagiarism detected, India is not far behind. So US, Japan, China, UK, India, etc. If you look at India's contribution to plagiarism is pretty high. China is maximum. Now, in China, if you look at the number of papers getting published a year is much larger than what we are producing in India. Only in the last couple of years, India started contributing. The number of papers coming out of Indian universities multiplied in the last couple of maybe about 4 5 years. um, so there was a time when Symbiosis mandated that every MBA student, every postgraduate student has to publish a paper if you have to uh, get your graduation. So all these are pressures, and that puts tremendous pressure on the entire publication uh, world also. Now imagine how many universities, how many colleges in India in general? Some 30 lakh, 30, a few lakhs, isn't it? Colleges. Now all that colleges or 30, 40,000 colleges that we have, and in each of those colleges there are about let's say 50 to 60 faculties or 100 faculties in the lower range that you're talking about. And that many faculties have to ensure that at least two papers they have to publish in a year. The number of papers getting published multiplied. It was not a mandate till recently in Indian universities, but it has become very important in the Indian universities recently. And therefore, the number of papers have gone up, and along with the number of papers, the issue of plagiarism, the issue of duplicate publication also has gone up. So some of the reasons people identified, what are the, because of which the issues or the plagiarism or all these things got reflected. They said, what they say is that inventing data or fabrication of data is 3%, Falsifying the data is another 10 percentage, especially the statistical analysis, etc. Plagiarism is 19%. So-called honorary authorship, or listing a person not involved in the research as an author, 52%. That's a big issue, isn't it? Now, what is this issue? Now, I am the supervisor. I have not contributed anything to do to the paper that is being done by the students, but university mandates the faculty's name should be in the paper. Otherwise, you will not get your PhD. You see, the PhD guide become an honorary author, and hence, as a student, as a PhD guide, whenever my students submit a paper, I always contribute in some way to ensure that I have contributed to the paper. So, in the form of editing the paper, in terms of humanizing the paper, in terms of reviewing and making, enhancing, improving the quality of the paper, etc. Somewhere we have to contribute. So there is a lot of institutions. What is happening is that I remember a student of mine. The student made the paper. It had about 90% of the AI. So after a number of iterations together, I spent about 10 to 15 hours on that research paper in terms of reviewing various activities, and she sent without adding my name to the journal, and the paper got accepted, and then she sends, please add my name into the authorship. So for a journal's perspective, I am a ghost author. I am not someone who has not contributed. I'm not someone who has contributed to the paper at all, because she added my name retrospectively after getting accepted. So such instances are happening, and that is considered an unethical practice. Use of illegal versions of research methods, example, photocopying tests that should have been purchased, etc., etc. So what is also happening is that the data sets, etc., which you are supposed to be publishing, kind of purchasing something, you get it through, some means, or you go into the, without getting the proper license, you use the data. Another major issue that people talk about. Then they talk about quoting works without citing the author. So you have that citation is not happening. Quotation hai, you have taken a particular passage verbatim from somebody, and then you're not giving any credibility to that person. So, or again, concealing unsatisfactory research outcome, the so-called file drawer effect, they call it. Now, a lot of people, what they do is that they have a hypothesis, have a data, and they realize that two hypotheses are not getting accepted. So they falsify the data, or they remove the hypothesis. So you have got hypothesis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is the first set of hypotheses the researcher has cited. And when the analysis is done and the final reporting of your data is happening, you only have 4 hypotheses. Baki hypotheses are nikal diya. Such kind of reporting also are mentioned. So these are some of the major areas in which the problems, ethical research problems, are generally observed. So some of these are considered honest errors. Some are mainly because of plagiarism. Some are authorship issues. Some are data issues. So we can categorize the various ethics um, research ethics based aspect into these 4 different categories. So plagiarism, within plagiarism, we can also talk about falsification and also part of it. So duplicate publication, self plagiarism, plagiarism of other authors. Now, these are the different types of plagiarism people talk about. Self-plagiarism is a concept that discusses about, let's say, I have written a paper. In my second paper, I will refer all my previous papers. In my third paper, I will start citing all my previous two papers. So it keeps adding. So every subsequent paper, I keep citing my previously published paper. Now those previous papers may not be directly linked to my current paper, but in order to increase my citation, I plagiarize my own previous articles. Now they say even a journal. Now I publish a journal. One was that I am not. See, earlier it was said that if I don't cite at least 5 articles from that journal, then the journal editor will not accept my paper. So one of the reason for getting my paper accepted into a journal in the earlier time was that I have to cite at least 4 to 5 papers from that journal in my article. Now that is considered as a research malpractice because the journal is forcing the author to self-plagiarize the journal. Now we said self-plagiarism can be of two types. One is an author citing his or her previous articles in the current article, or a journal citing uh, articles, a journal article published in X journal is citing at least 10 different articles published in the same journal. So that is also considered as self-plagiarism in the current context, and many authors would say it is not an accepted practice. Again, there is no standard about at this point of time, but there is also a discussion brewing, and there is also certain editors don't accept that also. So if you are plagiarizing your own, and when they do the plagiarism analysis of articles published in the number of years previously, that is also considered as a plagiarism in the current context. I hope you got 2 types of plagiarism that I am talking about. And the third aspect of plagiarism they talk about is a duplicate publication. So I published a paper and 90% similar idea, everything is same. I paraphrase and make another paper with another title. So the idea, concept, everything is same, but 2 different papers. And that is the duplicate publication comes into picture. So that is more from a plagiarism as a ethical issue in research. Another issue people talk about is the authorship issues. So there are different types of authorship issues they talk about. Unclear authorship, affiliation error, missing author, lack of authorization. So if there are 5 authors together publishing a paper, now all the 5 people are supposed to write an agreement saying that I agree to my paper getting published in this journal. Sometimes on behalf of these 5 people, the main author or corresponding author has to write an undertaking, sign an undertaking that yes, we all agree to this paper getting published. That is one aspect. Authorization is very important from a publication's perspective. Missing author. Now suppose there are 10 or 5 people together wrote an article, and when the article is to go to the publication, before the article is published, one of the authors, probably he has contributed a lot in terms of writing this article, this research paper. He shifted from this university to another university. And then, the other 4 come together, delete the name of that person and send the paper for publication without that names. and then the paper comes into publish ho gaya, and then the fifth person realize that they published the paper without the name, and then he can file a complaint to the editor saying I was also part of this research, my name is not included in this. Missing author issue comes into. Affiliation error is, let's say, it's very important that if I am publishing as a member of Symbiosis International University, I need to ensure that my affiliation is properly decided or cited. Now, if that is not happening, what happens is that I write and submit a paper, paper got published, but university will not get any credit for my paper. Because today university needs credits, because it is based on that credit university will get an accreditation. Let's say when we go for QS ranking or Times Higher Education ranking or NBA or NAC, in all these things what we need is university needs more number of papers published. Now if I don't give the affiliation correct, if I misspell the name of the university, then university will not get any credit from my paper. I hope you are understanding what I'm saying. And then the last one is unclear authorship. Now, a fourth one, another one that has surfaced in the recent past is that, let's say, 100 people together writing one paper. Now, each of these 100 people are from 100 different countries. So, you claim a multinational research. Every author would probably contribute one paragraph into the research. Yes?
Huh?
Is somebody saying something to me? No. Okay. So what I was saying, are you able to see
Screen
my
is not
PPT?
visible.
It is not visible now?
No, sir.
What's happening? What's happening? Is it same problem for the others also? Who was, it's not visible for whom?
For me, sir. Priyanka.
Priyanka, you are not able to say it. What about Tripti? I'm trying to understand, is it a problem from my side or from the other side?
No, sir, it is visible to me.
It's visible to you. Again, I am going back and coming back in. So let's ensure that everybody get the paper. So this is the slide now I am using. So are you able to see now, madam?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No, sir, I am not able to see now.
Who is that now? Tripti not able to see now?
Yes, sir, now it is blank, black screen is zero.
Oh God, oh God. Oh, problem. Is it again blank?
Yes, sir. It
Still
is
blank.
Still
Huh?
black. Yes, still black, sir.
You are still blank.
First, it was
Well,
visible, sir. Before
I
it,
understand.
that Priyanka have said that she was not
Now Priyanka is
visible.
able to see and you are not able to see.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the problem. Now, how is it? I assume that everybody is able to see now.
Yes,
So
now
what
it
I-
is visible. Visible,
Huh?
sir. Visible,
It's visible. Fine, thank you. So, as I said, authorship is another issue now. What is happening is uh, this has become a big trend in the current scenario. A lot of universities, a lot of faculties, these faculties come together, they create a network of people, and there is one person I mean, it's not considered at this point of time illegal, but of course, there are issues that is there. From a practical perspective, people say this is a good idea that uh, 20, 30, 40 researchers from across the globe collaborate and write a paper. So you get perspectives from 40 different countries. That is one of the trend that is happening, but a lot of people are kind of raising suspicion, raising issues against that in the current scenario. That is one. Second is, let's say I write a paper and I approach a partner in some other country and say, you pay for the paper, I will write the paper. Because I don't have the money, but somebody from the UK or US will have the money to pay for the paper. They also need paper, I also need paper. Because in every universities, we need to have research papers for the promotion of the person, etc. So I write the paper, you pay for the paper. So this is also something at this point of time, it is accepted. Again, there are certain questions people ask about the authenticity, morality of those kind of papers. So these are all authorship issues. Then people also talk about, if you are a research guide and your wife is also working as a teacher somewhere. So the student, the PhD student now has to write and include the name of the husband, wife, every one of those. And maybe if the daughter is also studying, उसका भी नाम ऐड करना पड़ता है research scholars का paper में. Not everywhere happens. There are also, this kind of things do happen in many places. So these are all authorship related issues that people talk about. Then we talk about data issues. That is falsification, fabrication, all those things happen with regard to data. So problematic data, data itself is not good data, authentic nahi hai. Then they talk about falsified data or fabricated data, data ownership disclosure. So who own the data? So the NDAs, non-disclosure agreement, everything is there. So again, with the DPDP and GDPR, again getting the data becomes very difficult. So these are all issues with regard to data that comes into picture. Then of course there are honest errors. You did not intend to happen, but it happened. Say work not reproducible or experimental error that happened. You did not realize that you made a mistake, or theoretical error. So you use the wrong theory to start the research with, etc. So these are again honest errors. They are pardoned. You can, the reviewers will say that these are things that you need to change. So you change and tell. In all these things, there are degrees of problems. So if it is severe, of course, they will take cognizance and they will take action against it. If it is not very severe, so again, the editor has to decide the severity of the issue. And if they feel that it is not very severe, then they will let the paper go with major revision. So today, most of the big journals will give you a major revision. They not even give you first time. They will never give you a minor revision. They will give you a major revision. After two revisions, if they find you are collaborating, then they will accept the paper. So in the current scenario, AI has become a problematic factor. Conducting research using AI is another very big problem. So whether it is plagiarism, misinformation, image duplication and manipulation, you can manipulate the data using an AI. You can create an image using AI, etc. Tamper the research using AI is possible. So there are also AI tools become co-authors of the paper. So the 90% of the work actually has been done by the AI. So you should actually make AI a co-author of the paper. So at this point of time, it is not allowed. So these are again some of the things. So there is this Michel Balleri, who published in 2023 about use of AI in research. What is an acceptable range? we said AI has this problem of false positive. Uh, Instead of true positive, they have got this false positive concept. And they said in each they have there are different disciplines, and they identified various disciplines, and then in each discipline there are different way of understanding what is an acceptable AI, especially when uh, a journal looks at the paper to be published. So natural sciences, they said up to 20 to 30% of AI is accepted. Social sciences, the amount is very less. You are not supposed to use AI. So 10 to 20% is accepted. Even in management and all those things, it is social sciences, and therefore uh, it is no, management is coming under the business. So more or less same. It's 10 to 20% is accepted in social sciences. Medical sciences, again, 25 to 35% is acceptable. Engineering, which includes computers, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, they said 30 to 40% of AI contribution is acceptable, because that is where AI coming from, isn't it? Then they said humanities, which involves English, history, philosophy, etc. You are not expected to use AI, 5 to 10%. In the education field, again 10 to 15%. Business, marketing, finance, management, etc. It's again 20 to 25%. So this is how they said what is acceptable limit of AI in your research paper. Again, this is not standard. There is no journal would say that this much is acceptable. But Turnitin today says that anything below 20% is what they say star. Now, if you get a star category, it's accepted. Now, what is star? If you don't know, let us look at that. Mm. Is my page visible?
Yes, sir.
Which is the Turnitin page. So this is the Turnitin, the thing through which we look at the plagiarism. Now, let's say this particular article. So similarity is 0. Now, what is the AI content of it? Let's look at it. Are you able to see the content here? This is the Turnitin report. I'm going to spend some time on Turnitin later, but let's have a look at it at this point of time. So when we're doing research, so we have to ensure the AI is below 20. So here they are showing 46% of this paper is AI. So there is a problem. So the problem has to be rectified, etc. So you need to and this is the filters. Now in this, the similarity is 0. So therefore, this filter is of no use, because you cannot filter 0 below 0 anything, isn't it? AI is something that you need to re-paraphrase, etc. Now, if you click on this, it will give you an AI report. This is the AI report, and they said 36% is AI generated, 10% is AI used for paraphrasing the text. So the thing in purple is paraphrased paragraph. The one in green or blue, whatever is 1 minute. Please hold on. Is directly plagiarized. So that is how they do it. So you download this, and a lot of people keeping this in mind, they paraphrase their entire paragraph paper, and then they reduce the AI content here. Yes, somebody was asking something, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Was there any question?
Actually, so PPT again not showing, so.
I was not showing PPT. I was only showing uh, my page.
The page also not visible, sir.
Not visible. Oh my God. What is happening? It's not visible now.
No, sir.
Visible to us, sir. Visible to me.
Sir, it
Visible
is
to you.
visible. Maybe because of the internet connectivity. You can just log in and log in once again because most of us are able to see it.
Yes. Swapnil, I think problem is at your end.
Okay, I'll check, sir.
Huh. So now let's look at a paper that has got very high similarity. Similarity is plagiarism report. So this is a paper. So both these are research papers. I got it from for review. So these were two research papers that I received for review. So while reviewing, I kind of did a plagiarism check, and this is how I got the plagiarism report for that paper. So all these colored page section, all these are plagiarized, which means copy pasted, or this is visible in somebody else's research paper. So you are not expected to do this. You are supposed to reduce this color. Now, what is happening in these pages? It is something that can be removed with filters. Otherwise, now let's look at the use of filter here. Now, this is 56% is similar, and AI content is 20%, 27%. So not too much to be done with the AI part of it, but yes, 56 is not good. Now look at this. Now these are the filters. Now you can exclude quotation. So you have a quotation and you have cited that quotation. Now with citation in inverted comma or italics, then it is accepted practice. But then Turnitin will catch it as plagiarism. So you remove the quotation, you exclude bibliography. You can also exclude words. Say, as I said, there are these common words. Symbiosis International University is something that gets reflected as a plagiarism. So, how to exclude those things? So, you can say up to 9 words. Anything that is within 9, you can exclude those things. And then you apply the changes. So 56 has come down to 34. So this is a filter. And then you see that these filters, here what has happened is that 32% of the thing is taken from the same one article. And you really have to work on it. So there is no choice. And as I said, AI also can be seen. Where is the AI content of your paper? This is the AI content. You can download this version and then you can work on it. So you see, these thing in green are the plagiarized paragraphs. So you work on it. So this is only 27% is AI generated content. So what you can do is that you just complete 3-4 paragraphs and then it will come down to 20, below 20. So that is how we can actually work around the system. You don't have to paraphrase the entire thing, and don't use a AI tool for paraphrasing again, because that will also consider as a paraphrase. I mean AI. So you will continue. You will be moving around a vicious circle. So let's not get into that part of it.
So one question is here. You said
Yes,
citation.
please.
If we are given the citation, then also it is giving that your plagiarism report is this positive.
See, if it is paraphrased by you and then you have cited, it will not catch as turn it in similarity. If it
Okay.
is part of your, but then if you've given a quote, let's say there is a quotation that you put in the inverted comma and it is taken from verbatim from another journal article, you have cited, but Turnitin will recognize it as taken from another article.
Okay.
It will be. So therefore, you need to use filters there. Exclude quotations.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And
Thank you.
only if you have used italics, inverted comma, indenting, then only it will consider as a quotation. Now, you took a passage from an article and cited that one, but then you forgot to give an inverted comma or italics or indent that particular portion. You have used it as part of your paragraph, and you given a citation at the end of the that particular section, but still it will not get filtered out. It will still remain as a similarity.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I'm back to my slide.
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. So there are a lot of these kind of cases people talk about. This is case of a researcher called Paul Cormack. So he was a research coordinator in a research institution. So he did something that was not ethical and also not legal. So he was caught and he got a 6 year prison sentence. The sentencing or the penalty for research misconduct based on the severity and the impact and the intent, it can actually be very heavy if it is going to incriminate anybody, or if it is going to create a claim which is not having. So in this particular case, what he did is he was a research coordinator. So he was responsible for enrolling people for the clinical trials in that research institution. So he kind of enrolled people who should not have been eligible or who should have been ineligible for getting selected. He used fraudulent lab work. He posed as a PhD holder, doctor, not PhD holder, but a doctor. So patients found easy to kind of confide a lot of things. Otherwise, you will never confide to a lab assistant. So this was something that he did as part of research assistant or coordinator in his university. So he was caught and punished. So expected that intellectual honesty and research integrity has to be maintained. So what is identified by teachers as cheating is not considered by students as cheating in modern times. This is a very famous statement. Do you agree with this statement? What is identified by teachers as cheating is not considered by students as cheating in modern times. What do you think? So it says a recent article in the US News and World Report relays a story about a student who spent an hour programming his advanced calculator with notes for an examination. He estimated that it would have taken him about 20 hours to study the same material. The student explains, I do not really consider that I did cheating because in the real world I would be using that device. I see that was just being more efficient. What do you think? Students find cheating with IT more acceptable than cheating without it. My experience is that students these days don't feel a qualm or feel that they have done anything wrong when they use AI for conducting a research. So we have these dissertations, and 90% of the time I realize that students are even more than 90% that they are using AI. They are using, they go back to the 5 years down the line, take a dissertation paper because it's available in the library, take a paper and then reproduce that paper and submit it as a new paper. And they use, once one student submitted a paper and I checked Turnitin, it was showing zero similarity and there was no AI. 3 years later, I a friend of mine and me together, we thought this is a very good paper, बहुत अच्छा paper था, no AI, etc., no similarity. So along with the name of the student, I took the permission from that student and then we did a little rework here and there and then send it to a journal for publication. Journal says, look, this article is published in XYZ place. You cannot do it because he said 99% of the paper is similar to what was there in that journal that got published. Happens. And student got his PhD, his master's, he went ahead, he's doing pretty good in his work. But this is what he did. When he submitted, we did not know, we were not able to catch him as a cheater. But he was a cheater. Now, if you do this one in a PhD and you hoodwinked the whole process of examination, you got your PhD. But if you had taken it from somewhere, your PhD is kept for, now what is there is in every PhD thesis has to be scanned and uploaded into what they call Shodh Ganga. So there is a repository of all the previous researchers, PhD, non-PhD, everything is there. Now, since your paper in the Shodh Ganga, it becomes easy for, cross-checking, etc. So it is there. So if somebody does a copy pasting or plagiarize somebody's previous paper, it will be caught. In the immediate, if you are not able to, if nobody catches you, you get ahead and got your PhD. 5 साल के बाद भी आके तुम्हारा लाइफ हराम कर सकता है. It can destroy your career. It can destroy your life. So try not to get into those things that will destroy. So as I said, as long as you don't get caught, you're good. But if you're caught, you get it. So that's the problem. Okay. So there are different levels of misconduct. So it can be honest error, it can be misconduct, it can be fraud. So it can be non-intentional, intentional. So a non-intentional error, wrong observations, wrong analysis, etc. could be done. Let's say non-intentional, but it's a misconduct, undeclared conflict of interest, publication bias, undeserved authorship, etc. Intentional है and fraud भी है. It's basically suppressing data, plagiarism, falsification, fabrication, etc. Now, if you are caught with plagiarizing, fabrication, falsification, the penalties are much higher than publication bias or undeclared conflict of interest, etc., etc. What are the conflict of interest in a research? Now, conflict of interest generally happens when, let's say, I got a fund from